Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi. We've really got an interesting show today because we're going to be talking about views on the afterlife. It's going to be fascinating. But before we get started on the show today, though, I wanted to remind you that our book is on Amazon now. The book, Open to Love, The Secrets of Senior Dating. It was written by me and my fiance, Dr. Frank Powers, and it's now available on Amazon. Our book's filled with tips and tools for those of you like me who are looking for companionship as an antidote for loneliness. The number one mental health issue right now for seniors is loneliness. I want to remind you that all the proceeds for this book will go to the Open to Hope Foundation with the mission of helping people find hope after loss. So go get it on Amazon today. Well, Heidi, let's get started with our show today. As I said, it's on views on the afterlife, and we've got a fantastic guest who I want to say quickly is an Open to Hope writer, and we appreciate her.
As you said, Mom, our guest, Candace Lynn Talmadge, is an Open to Hope writer, and she is an author, storyteller, and a paranormalist. She is a SUNAN story healer, and she's written the Stone Slayer paranormal fictional series. She co-wrote the Afterlife Healing Circle, How Anyone Can Contact the Other Side, with her late wife, which has a foreword by Dr. Raymond Moody. Welcome to our podcast, Candace Lynn.
Thank you.
Great to have you on. I was reading a bit about some of the things you've written and some of the things that you've said, and fascinating how when you were a child, you were 12 or something, and you dreamt that someone had died, and then your mother told you the next morning that they did.
Yes, yeah, that was my first introduction that I can remember to all this so-called woo-woo stuff, as my late wife used to call it jokingly. And I was having a dream, and I had visited this woman who was a friend of my mom several times in the hospital. She was dying of cancer. And then early one Saturday morning, I dreamt that we went to the hospital, and the nurse said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see Mrs. Smith. She died at 3 this morning." Well, I woke up and kind of shook off the dream and went in. It was Saturday morning, and it was my time to set the table to get ready for breakfast. And then the phone rang, and then not long later, my mom came in. She was crying, and she said, "Mrs. Smith died at 3 this morning." And I just recall saying, well, that was interesting. I never said anything to my family about it because we were a strictly, rational, intellectual type family, and we didn't get with all that woo-woo stuff.
I had an experience early on and saved a drowning friend, and it seemed like my own personal thing too. It didn't seem like something you really wanted to talk about particularly.
Well, people weren't terribly open about it back in those days. All right. It was just, it was kind of there, but you really didn't mention it or go into
Right.
it. And part of the whole quote unquote new age movement was simply about bringing things that people have experienced for ever since their existence on Earth, bringing those things out into the light and discussing them openly. And that's all that I am trying to do. The heart and the soul are really our connection to the divine, however we imagine it to be, and to within self. We cannot mentally go as deeply within self as we can going through the emotional body, the heart, and the soul, the spiritual body. When we bring that side of self into everything that we are and how we live our life, then we're living out of all of self. We're open to those wider realities.
What is the Afterlife Healing Circle?
Well, my first introduction to an afterlife healing circle was in 1987. Jan and I had been together less than a year, and one of her clients, the mother of one of her clients, was having a real problem. So we brought the woman in, and it turns out it's the quote unquote seance, all right? But not done in the typical, stereotypical, ridiculous seance fashion. This healing circle was marvelous. It was just the woman, her daughter, me, and a couple of other people, and Jana, who was leading it. Jana taught us the steps, and they're in my book, The Afterlife. I mean, literally, that book is to teach you how to do this for yourself, because you can do it for yourself. And the woman just got so much healing resolution. She got the resolution she needed, and it was about her long deceased mother. Her mother came forth, and you get a bunch of evidentiary material that reassures the person, the inquirer, the person who's come to talk to the soul. The evidentiary material is very much simply to satisfy the left brain of the person there that this is the soul that they really want to speak to. Clara just came back, she came out of that session with a huge weight off of her, and it gave her the healing and release she needed, that she could move on from her mother's death.
What would it look like? What are the steps?
Basically, you can go outside in a park at 3 p.m. You don't have to wait till night in a closed off room with a table. You can just sit in a circle with your hands together, and there are specific ways to do it. And one person is the conductor. This person leads the session. Another person is the inquirer, the person who has come for the session. And then there are anywhere between, say, 3 and 5 other people who can join. And you sit in a circle, you send love around the circle, and you call only the soul in question to you. Because, unfortunately, on the other side, there are a whole bunch of souls, most of whom are just like you and me, except they don't have physical bodies. But there are also souls that are not so well-intentioned. And you don't want to tangle with any of those souls.
When did your late wife, Jana, die? How long ago?
She died in July of 2020.
She died, so it wasn't that long ago. My heart goes out to you. I lost my father in 2020. So when Jana died, have you connected with her and contacted her?
She died late on a Friday, just before midnight on a Friday. And then the following Monday, one of my caregivers was there, and she was just going out, and I heard her shut the door because I was up in the master bedroom. And then suddenly I heard the front door open and close very distinctly, because the sound carries right up the stairwell. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So I called out, and there was no physical response. It wasn't my caregiver coming back in any way. She couldn't. The door was locked behind her. So, I went downstairs, and I checked all downstairs, and I checked in the garage, and there was no one there. But I just got this message. It's okay. I'm just here to check up on you. All right. So she's contacting me then. I've had dreams about her, where she's come to me and talked to me. And then sometimes I can sense that she's close by. So I know that in spirit, she is not lost to me. The huge question is, it is a big difference between the presence, the physical presence of a person that anchors the soul and the heart and the mind into this physical reality. It's a huge difference. And the loss is that physical presence that you can no longer hug or talk to, just like you and I are chatting. All right. That's the loss. That's the visceral loss that people go through when someone they really love or care about dies. SUNAN therapy really goes into the emotional body. All right. And we work there. And because of my training in SUNAN story healing, I am aware that the soul is a continuum. It existed before the physical body. In fact, during pregnancy, the soul keeps a finger of energy in the womb to help the physical body grow. In fact, if that finger of energy is removed, whatever physical there will not continue to grow, and it will die. So the soul nourishes the physical body every bit as much as food and water. And then that physical body is, like I said, the means by which souls are anchored in this physical reality. I like to think of it as, think of a huge river, the river of consciousness, if you will. All right. A huge flow of consciousness and God's unconditional love. And that's what we are in spirit. We are in the flow. All right. You're not physical. And from time to time, we step onto the shore and live a physical lifetime. And then when the physical body dies, we go back into the flow. So that's really what SUNAN story healing is designed to help us at the emotional subconscious level resolve very specific things, self-judgment and vows, because it is these things, self-judgment and vows, that out of which all dis-ease and physical disease arise. The healing
Okay.
cycle is more guaranteed for, it's more suitable for just, I need to say goodbye, or there's something left unsaid that I want to say to you. But very often we have, like you said, very deeper unresolved issues or anger or something really deep and unresolved toward a person who's no longer, whose body is no longer living. That's what you would do SUNAN story healing for, you know, between the healer and the client, because those deeper issues deserve privacy and respect and confidentiality.
Wow. Well, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, what I do primarily now is I love to take people to meet their spirit guides, because spirit guides are, I don't know, you can call them angels, I mean, whatever label you like, but they are souls who travel with you when you go into a physical lifetime. I take people to meet their spirit guides. It's a wonderful, happy, fun thing. We don't do heavy issues, but there's lots of laughter and tears, and, you know, and they give you presents and everything, but they can contact me through my website, CandaceLynnTalmadge.com. There's a form available where they can just email me and I'll reach out.
Yep, and you can also find some of our articles written for us on Open to Hope. So hope you will do that. And I think you have a YouTube channel too, right?
Yes, it's called Wider Realities, Candace Lynn Talmadge. Just go to YouTube and search, it should come up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. And I think it would be fascinating to get your book, which is Afterlife Healing Circle, how anyone can contact the other side. Sounds like it could be good fun and also open to a lot of new ideas. So thank you very much for being on today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Candace Lynn, and thank you for shedding light on views of the afterlife.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for joining us on the show today. And Heidi and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.